Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Travis, and I am here to welcome you on behalf of A Tale of D20s. And we are featuring Magpie Madness. And today we're doing our session zero for Urban Shadows with our MC, Helena. So, welcome in, and you get to see behind the scenes. So, Helena, I'll pass it over to you for introductions and running us through today's session.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm going to ask all of you to introduce yourselves first. I'll go last. So, as I said before, this is, Urban Shadows, and I'm going to ask you, what are your name and pronouns? If you have you ever played Urban Shadows before? This is second edition, but we had first for a while back in the day. And if you haven't, have you played any Power by the Apocalypse, like, Masks or Zombie World or any of the ones that we have at the Magpie warehouse? Or if you haven't, have you played any RPGs at all, like D&D or anything like that? And finally, if you have any expectations for a game, and if there's anything that you want to bring in, anything you'd like to see specifically, we're going to talk about safety tools later. That would be the no's or maybe. But this is about the yeses. What would you really like to see in our four? This is like a short campaign, 4 sessions, so we're gonna be all throughout October playing the story about these characters. So let's start because alphabet with Jeffrey.
Oh, okay. Hi everyone. I'm Jeffrey. Jeff. Both are fine. He, him pronouns. I have played Urban Shadows before. I've only played one shots though, so I'm really excited to get to play a four shot of Urban Shadows. I played tons of other PBTA games, all the Magpie games. I've gotten to play them. Um, I don't have any socials, but I'm here to play. You'll find me at Gen Con every year, hanging out with the
Oh,
Magpie crew.
love it.
Um, my expectations for the game, I want to be able to see the like between session moves in action and see the world get to like live and breathe and change between sessions. So that's what I'm most looking forward to.
Awesome. Thank you. Morgana, how about you?
Oh, we can't hear you.
What about now?
Now we can.
Interesting. Okay, so it does not like you to have the chat window open. Interestingly, I could not hear Jeffrey when he was speaking earlier, which is maybe it's because we're both on push to talk. I'm not sure. But I'm Morgana, she, her. I have gotten to play Urban Shadows before with some of these folks. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoy the narrative drive of the story. And as far as expectations go, I'm mainly just wanting a chance to play someone who's a little more on the nasty side of things. Maybe a backstabber, maybe just a freaky little guy. I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Well, if it as long as it is within the safety tools, you're free to go. Go ahead and do it. Rilo, how about you?
Hi, I'm Rilo. He, him pronouns. I've never played Urban Shadows before. Um, I'm a D&D player though, so I'm familiar with tabletop RPGs, and I'm looking forward to just exploring something a little different.
For sure. This is completely different from D&D. Don't get into a fight unless you're really willing to suffer some harm or kill some people. The movie is called Turn to Violence for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not heroic combat. It's like having nasty things happening. Speaking of nasty. And last but not least, Travis, tell us more about yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Travis, he, him, on Discord and other socials as Zendaric, or OMG It's Travi on Instagram. And I have played Urban Shadows before. It's actually my favorite of the Magpie games. I love this genre so much. I love for lack of a better word, the true blood of it all. I
Yes,
love the
yes.
modern day fantasy of it. I do. I have played D&D also for 10 plus years, GMing, DMing, playing and running it. So I have lots of experience and I am very excited for this session. And my expectations are I would love a dramatic twist or like a crazy reveal like towards the end that like allows us to like that makes us like either commit or pivot and
Love it.
something like like I love those dramatic gasp moments and I would love to have one of them this session.
Sure. Probably, I think in the future we'll
Yeah.
have some of those.
Or in
This
the,
is
you know, in the
yeah in the
sessions.
game. Yeah,
In the
in the game.
game.
I understood. Yeah, but I was just making
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, this is just
No, tonight. No, no, no.
we're
Tonight. You
not
need to
gonna
make
play
me
Right
gag
now.
tonight. We're
tonight.
just gonna create characters. And do
I
the
need to
setup.
gag. I need to gag.
Yeah, I'm not your GM, something like that, like a twist or something. I'm not really your GM. Okay, my name is Helena. My pronouns are she, her. I've been playing and running RPGs for 24 years at this point, I think, almost 25. I'm so old. I love PBTA. PBTAs are my favorite. I'm also a designer, a writer. You can find me on Blue Sky, Helena Real, one word, .bsky, social. And I also am on itch, helenareal.itch.io, where I basically publish my own designs. On the side, I've worked in the industry as a freelance designer for the past 10 years, and I wrote the Santiago section in Urban Shadows Second Edition. That's my baby, because I live in Santiago, Chile. I'm a Chilean, and that's my city. So yeah, so I know a lot about Urban Shadows. I've run it since first edition, the early days of it. And then for second, I had the opportunity to just add my bit, my grain of sand to this whole construction with the city. So yeah, that's about it. As Travis said, this is Urban Shadows. So it's all about urban fantasy, which is this genre that mixes up all of the horror tropes in a more, let's just say, friendly manner, less horror, more action, drama, a bit of soap opera, and all that in between. But first things first, the most important thing whenever you're playing RPGs are the safety tools. So we're gonna go to our handy character keeper that has everything in it, and the first tab is the uh, safety tools tab. So in that safety tools tab, we have our lines and veils, which we collected. So these are the lines and veils we're going to have. Just as a reminder, if you never play with these, lines are hard limits. We're not going to include them in the game. They're outside of our sandbox. So no references to them, not including them in any way, shape, or form. They basically do not exist in our fictional world. And veils are behind the veil, so they're boundaries. The idea is that we can include them, but very, very, subtly. So in this case, not explicit, more like, they can be implied, they can be in the background. We can fade to black if they come up. Of course, these lists are not exhaustive. If at any point during the game you feel like you want to add a line or a veil, you can edit everything on this character keeper. So feel free to do it. Just you can write there and let the rest of us know, so we're aware that that's a line or veil that we need to take care of. And the other safety tool, which is super awesome and useful, is the X card by John Stavropoulos. Super cool. Very, very simple. If at any point during the game, something I'm describing or doing as an NPC or myself, or anybody else's character is making you feel uncomfortable on a personal level, like beyond the fun of the drama and all that, please, please, please let the rest of us know by sending a single X in one of our chats, or you can. I'm gonna leave my email afterwards. You can shoot me a message on Discord or something. If the X card is called, I'm gonna stop the game. If I have any doubts about what triggered the X card, I'm gonna ask a question or two. I'm gonna add a line, make everybody aware of this new line, and move on. And if necessary, I'm gonna retcon the fiction. Safety is way more important than coherence or drama or any of those things. So yeah, those are safety tools for tonight and for all the other sessions. Any questions or comments before we move on?
You fine with just a physical X, just saying X?
That could be two. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna be looking at your screens all the time, so I can definitely catch that.
I only just got a chance to submit the Google form. Did you want me to edit in the couple of things that I had on here now, or just
Yeah.
wait?
No. If you want, if you have anything that it isn't there, feel free to add them. Or you can go and fill the consent form, and then I'll update this later on. But it's good if you do now because in that way we are aware of what not to include in character creation or in the game as such. So yeah, okay then.
I was
Let
able
us
to
know when. Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
able to sneak some behind the scenes magic, and Rallo can't join us on camera today, so I pulled up the safety tools and they're in
Hey,
their
that's
spot. So you
awesome.
can see them on screen and know what we're talking about when we're referencing these lines and veils and the safety
Yeah,
tools for your games
that's
if you do them
awesome.
at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I really recommend that you do. I always say it's like if you don't have them, you're gonna need them, and you're not gonna have anything to fall back on. Better to have it. It's just it's just that it's a safety net. Um, is that everything, Morgana? Awesome. Okay then. Before we do character creation, though, because this is we have a reasonable amount of time to play with each other. I would like for us to get an idea of what we want to see here, like kind of do a bit of ingredients or things that you're interested in. First, I'm going to do a bit of an introduction of urban fantasy. As I said, it's all about the playbooks in this game. They are divided into four main factions, which these factions are basically are in the limits of the supernatural and the mundane. So all of these stories happen in cities, which usually are real life cities, but we see the other side of that. So the first circle, they're called circles, is mortalis, which is everybody who is still human, asterisk, um, but they are somehow connected to the supernatural. So, for example, we have here monster hunters, people who either have experienced something or are doing something, people who are getting out of the business of hunting monsters, or people who are just scratching the surface of, vampires are real and werewolves are real and, they exist in the city, blah, blah, blah. Then we have night, which is the circle of everybody who basically uses the darkness of the night to do things. Mostly night is all about people who have a need. They need to consume something. So we have vampires here because they either need, in this game you can either need blood, emotions, or something else. I don't remember which one's the one. But you can feed on something. We have werewolves, which they are in charge of territories. Like they are all about this feeling of ownership over a place and people. And we also have ghosts, which are called specters. In the playbook called specter, which are dead people who still have unfinished business. So that's why they're still, roaming around in their ghostly forms. Apart from night and mortalis, we have power, which is the circle of magic as such, the idea of having the true power over the world. So we have a wizard playbook, and we also have a couple of other related playbooks. For example, we have the sworns, which are like kind of like, imagine like magical bodyguards. So they have this kind of like chivalrous code, and they're related to some people, some factions. The circles have factions within them. So for example, even amongst all of the people in power, they are struggling with each other. Like they are trying to eat each other's, basically breakfast or plate or whatever, because they want power, and whoever has power wants more of it. They don't want to share. And that happens with all of the circles. So they're all fighting amongst each other for control of the city, and at the same time, they have their own inner struggles. Um, and the last circle is wild, which is basically anything that doesn't fit into the other circles. So the playbooks in wild usually are people who are newcomers to the city or are somehow on the fringes of supernatural society. So we have things, like the Tainted, which is a human that made a pact with a demon. The Imp, which is a demon escapee, basically, like a devil or demon that escaped, bondage to a greater demon or devil, and is now running a establishment for all the supernaturals, which is super cool. And we also have the Fae, which are like fairies, literally, like the oldest creature probably in the world, who come from these other worlds into this one and make deals with people. And that's the great like landscape of the city as such. This is a game about politics in the sense of the main currency in this game is debts. You get in debt with people, people get in debt with you, characters both. And you as a group, you're not friends. You're not supposed, you can be friendly to each other, but in reality, you are tied by these debts. We're going to create debts amongst all of your characters. So that's why you are working together, because you basically can pull each other's strings. But just, like when you have a debt on someone, you can say, help me. And they have to either help you or refuse the debt. And refusing the debt is a bad idea, because in a city in which debt is like the currency, if you refuse it, you are no longer trustworthy. So nobody's gonna honor the debts they have on you, and that's super bad. So most people tend to be like, okay, whatever, begrudgingly they agree and just join you in whatever mission or thing that they're doing. So that's the general thing. Any questions about this, or comments that you may have? Any doubts? Anything you may like to add or mention at this moment? At this point,
I have one question. The
Sure.
relationship that we have with the factions, is
Mhm.
it's not absolute, right? Like as players, like we don't fully like have allegiance to one faction, but like we have relations to them, but like no one is
Yeah.
like fully like knight, and I'm only associating with knight.
No. You all of you start with a circle. You are part of a circle because of your playbook. But you have status 1 in that circle out of 3, so you're basically known as a member of the circle. But not really. Like the circles also aren't isolated. They're always dealing with each other. They're
Mhm.
having, for example, like you could that's one of the wonderful things about this game, that you can have a vampire that is in the same group as a vampire hunter, because the hunter is like, I'm not gonna hunt you because we made a deal that you're not gonna, I don't know, like eat children. So we're okay with that or something. And so that's the type of thing that happens in the city. Like, you work with each other because you establish limits and negotiate in that way. So yeah, you belong to a faction. You're supposed to be a representative, quote unquote, of that. One of faction. You belong to a circle. The factions are subsets of the circles. So, for example, a cabal of wizards or a vampire clan. So those are like smaller like groups of people related to a certain specific circle.
But you could gain influence in another circle if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, you have a stat on the circle as well. So you have circle status and your circle ratings. And the ratings, you roll them. So when you ask a favor out of another circle, you roll with however good you are at that. And some playbooks have better relationships with some circles than others. But that's how you can also improve that through advancements. So yeah,
Gotcha.
definitely.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, makes sense
Nope.
to me.
Cool. So the big question, I usually run these games in Santiago. I have a lot of things, like a lot of props. I've lived here my whole life, but it's not a city that probably any of you know. You don't need to know it. I usually run it for people who have never seen it or visited, and they still have a nice time according to what they say. Or we can play in a generic city, generic, US or whatever city that has all the things that you would be familiar with, and I would be familiar with through fiction and movies and all that. So that's the big question. Which one would you like to choose? Both have their benefits and their, like their sort of like contrapoints, but that's the idea. Which one? How do you feel about this?
I'm I'm fine with either, but I would say personally, since you're so confident about your city, I would love to play in in Santiago and with your props
Sure,
and everything that you know. I feel like why not? I would love that. I feel like
sure.
that's my
Yeah,
vote.
yeah, absolutely. Like you're the expert in that, and it's like what a treat that
Yeah,
we
I've
get to
seen
have that
Arrowgate,
GM.
and usually, given my druthers, I pick to experience something new.
Okay, awesome then. So I want to start sharing with you all the things. In that case, well, Santiago is the biggest city in Chile. Chile is like a thin, small country on the side of Argentina, which is a proper country. And this city has 8 million people. It's kind of large. It has like a surrounding area of a lot of other things as well. But I'm gonna share with you a map of the city, like a very like overview of the city as such, so you can use that as a reference point for when we're talking. And I'm gonna also share like a name generator in case you want to like you can also be from outside of Santiago and just a newcomer. Like that's also an option, so you get to keep like a cool Anglo name or whatever if you feel more comfortable with that. So yeah, so that's an option too. And then in that case, I'm gonna do a bit of kind of like some editing to this, like things that are different. In Santiago, there are no wolves. So when you play a wolf, you play a puma. You're a were puma. You transform from a human into a puma. We have a lot of pumas here in the Andes Mountains, so you basically become a puma. So everything that says wolf in Santiago is a puma. What else? The Fae, there are not a couple of versions you can play classic fairy creatures from like Norse mythology or like Anglo-Saxon mythology, but you also can play a duende, which is like a Spanish version of this, which are like homeowners, kind of like this kind of like bogarts type creatures that look like human but they are not. Or you can also encounter like basically native spirits of nature usually, which are tied to certain places in the city. The city has a lot of hills and it's basically on one side surrounded by the mountain and on the other one has another mountain, so basically it's a hole in the middle of that. And yeah, and I think that's more. Oh, and the one other important thing is that carrying weapons is illegal here. You cannot carry any type of weapon. You can have it at home. I'm not gonna change anything. I never change anything on your character sheet, so you still get your weapons as you would in any other Urban Shadows game. But if the police find you with those, it's actually an issue here. They can charge you. It can be more problematic than it would be in the states in which you have the right to bear arms and all that. So those are like the main aspects. Anything you would like to ask me about the city, which is different, or you would like to know in advance before we move on?
I would just like to know if there's any other like common things like that that you know of that, I would say us ignorant Americans would take for
Yeah.
granted. So I would like to sort of
Um.
know if there's any other things, like any other nuanced things about it. That way we can sort of play
Sure.
appropriately because
No, I think those are the most important. The city is heavily divided. So basically, the closer you move towards the east, towards the mountains, basically, um, the more basically the more wealth you have and probably people in power live in those type of places. The If you move to the other side, to the west side of the city, you get more like this the suburban areas, but industrialized instead of like being nice. So it's like a lot of pollution in those areas as well. The city has a huge problem with pollution, especially like winter is awful. You cannot breathe the air here. um to the north, the city has two rivers, but one particularly crosses the city from basically from east to west. And that river, on the north side of that river, there is like a whole culture of like immigration, people from basically everywhere. We have our own like Korean parts and Arab and Turkish, like, so you can find most every type of people there. We've had a bunch of immigrational waves in the past 30 years after the end of the dictatorship. And that's a huge point as well. This country was under the dictatorship from 1973 right up until 1990, and it has never recovered. It still lives on the shadow of that because there was no justice for the people who got injured and just like lost their loved ones or anything like that. So this country still lives in that sort of weird type of like nobody talks about it, but most of the art is references that. And yeah, and it, to be honest, it's easy to play in Santiago because it tries to ape so much American cities. Like if I showed you pictures, like a lot of the places try to look like places in the United States, especially like New York.
hmm
So we have all the fast food chains. We have all the quote unquote innovations and all of that. It's like it's very easy. It's very comfortable for someone who is like from the United States to come here and feel like not at home, but pretty much like like it's not that different. Um, Chilean Spanish is hellish. It's the closest to impossible Spanish as possible. So if your characters are not like locals, we're gonna play in English. But people, I would assume that when you speak or listen to people who are not talking slowly and being nice to you, it's super hard to understand. So even other Spanish speakers make fun of us, and with like they're right about it. So yeah, I think that those are like the main things, but those are like details. As I said, we're gonna play a regular game. I'm gonna be able to show you though a lot of like maps and just like because I places. This place is filled with churches. We have way more churches than hospitals in the city, and some of them are really really nice. Beautiful architecture. I mean, but yeah, those are the main things. And the map that I put on the chat now, that one is basically like an overview of the city, and it also displays a few of the places that I would expect, or you can expect to you, because one of the things that Urban Shadows has is this idea of um basically different hubs. So these hubs are specific places so you can narrow down the action. So I usually start with one of those. So downtown is the middle of the city in this case. The university side is more to like to the south, southeast a bit. We have a bunch of universities. We have private universities and public ones, one after the other there. Then we have the art district, which is to the north side, and then the city hall, which is on the as expected, it's on the basically on the northeast of the city as well. So you can look at that for guidance. You don't need to though. Like I'm always gonna try to describe everything in detail and be able to let you know where you are specifically and all that. So yeah. Any other questions or not?
Modern day, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's play 2025 because it's easier. You can get the latest iPhone. It's like 17 or something right now here as well. Like all of those things arrive here almost at the same time as in the United States.
Are there any like regional superstitions around any of these mountains? I know this Cerro del Plomo area looks pretty spooky.
Yes, they are. This city was built on a lie. The King of Spain demanded that any city that was built during the Conquista was built in uninhabited places. And the conquistador who came here, Pedro de Valdivia, he lied and said that this place was uninhabited, but it wasn't. This was an Inca city. So the Inca, which is the southernmost empire during like the native times here pre conquista, they had a city here, and the the hills, they were mostly used for ritualistic things. So actually one of the main conflicts in the city, it is between a female vampire conquistador who has been brought back from the torpor or undeath, and she's trying to reconquer the city. And the other side, one of the leaders, is basically like a younger version of an Inca god that lived here and basically went to sleep during like the conquista as such, which is the conquista was around 1500, 1450, 1460. So he basically they have been asleep for 5 centuries or something, and they now been reawakened. And that's one of the main like conflicts in the city. Like also when we talked about like racism and all that, a lot of the city, this is also a very racist city. Like people are xenophobic without knowing that they are, but not in the way that in the States people usually are, because here is more like, oh, like the Peruvians are worse than us, quote unquote, or the Bolivians are worse than us, or the Haitians, which came a bit of all, or the Venezuelans or the Colombians or whatever. And those tend to be darker skinned than Chileans, but even then. And there's a lot of this weird pride in all things Spanish, kind of like from Spain, I mean. So it's like, people are very proud of like having Spanish last names instead of like the local indigenous last names, which are pretty discernible. For example, I have two pretty Spanish last names, and that has made my life easier, quote unquote. Here, I've had one of those. Superstitions, most of them are either inherited from the Spanish people, like the evil eye, which is a classic of like Spanish people, like like people. If people look at you, you shouldn't show what you have because other people will look at you and envy that, and when they envy it, they curse you in a way. That's a classic. The locals have their own ideas. So the Mapuche people, who are the largest indigenous group here, they had this idea of there are two serpents, which are more like dragons because they're like great serpents that are in constant conflict, and one of them is trying to drown the land in water, like from the ocean, and the other one creates earthquakes to move the earth up so it can save people. So they're always in conflict, these two serpents. And so, for example, there's a dragon playbook in Urban Shadows in one of the stretch goals. And whenever somebody plays a dragon, I always say, you can play one of the descendants of those serpents if you want to play something like local in that sense. So that's another option for that. Anything else? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Playbooks. Have you have any idea which playbooks would you like to play? Because that allows us to know where can I pull like the villains out of. That would make the most sense for this. Any ideas what you would like to play out of the 12 that are in the core rules?
If everyone's okay with
I'm
it,
torn between three. I'm kind of curious what others are thinking because one of them might mesh better than the others.
Sure.
I've played Urban Shadows, like I said, this is my favorite one, so I've played 3 of them already. So I want to leave it open to other people first. So.
Sure. You're gonna pick last. Awesome. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone else was thinking of it, but the Puma kind of appealed to me.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, take
Sure.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. What were the 3 that you were looking at, Morgana?
The Spectre, the Veteran, and the Wizard.
Oh, sure. So we have no problem there. Okay, a wolf, that's knight. And you said Spectre, Veteran, and Wizard. So those are all the 3 circles. Well, technically one is knight, the other one is Mortalis, and the other one is power. And you, Travis, if we consider those 4 taken, which one would you take?
If we consider them taken, I would probably play the vampire then. I've not had the chance to play a vamp yet, but Wizard
Ooh.
is also one that I've been dying to play, and every time I've tried to play it, it just wasn't the game. It sort of fell through. So I haven't had a chance to really experience playing a wizard. So
Yeah.
I'm between wizard and vamp. But if
Cool.
Morgana, if you want,
I'm
vamp.
currently kind of leaning towards the Veteran specifically. That's the one that's really kind of calling to me more than the other 2.
Cool. Yeah.
And that gives
Okay.
us 3 of 4 circles.
Yeah. Also, okay. So for the wizard specifically, this city and this country in general, but this city in particular, is filled with Freemasons. Like the first chapter of the Freemasons that happened outside of France was in Santiago. So they have they even have factions fighting each other, which I put in the book. I think
It's like pre-Scottish Rite Masonry.
Yeah.
Like it's all over America, but it's mostly Scottish Rite, which is more recent.
They hate each other. Like they have a one which is the more progressive one, which actually allows women to be Freemasons. Look at that, like the world's gonna follow and see. Yeah. And the other one is trying to reform, and they're always struggling for that. But we also have like a temple, which is ridiculous, like the largest, most expensive Baha'i temple in all of South America, which is a ridiculous kind of like a bloom thingy on of course the eastern side of the city. We also have like people regularly doing pagan things on the on the hills, which are all over the place. So you can play basically anything you can think of, from the most classic kind of like Freemasony type wizardry to just being like a chaos mage and just like, hey, like I know all of that.
Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I love it. I love all of those ideas.
sure. For Vamp, there are two main things. One of them is a monster which is from the Andean mythology, which is the Pistaco, which is a basically a vampire that eats fat because like when not having food in this in a very harsh climate is hard. So that's one type. So a lot of the indigenous vampires, or if you descend from those, have that type of leaning towards them. You don't have to, but that's an option. And most of the other ones are Spanish, descended from the conquistadors. Basically, they are the fucking vampires who came here and they like
I mean,
very much guy.
I might play one of those old conquistadors that's maybe
Sure,
trying to be
why not?
reformed, or maybe I'm stubborn in
Yeah,
my old ways. Like that could be funny
yeah.
too.
That
That
would
could
be
be
funny
really.
too. Exactly. Yeah. And they have this whole thing of just like a very tied to the church. So,
Hmm.
for example, if you played like Vampire the Masquerade de la Sombra clan, that's basically all that we had here. Like like a lot of those very tied to the church. Blood and all of that thing, as well. So that's another thing too. Like Catholicism is a huge part of the culture here, even
Hmm.
though most people these days are agnostic or atheist, but it's so ingrained here that it's everywhere. Like we have a lot of religious like holidays, which I appreciate because it's a free day, but uh not many people celebrate anymore. For the veteran, basically, like having the limitation of not being able to carry weapons makes it so having weapons here is always like a trick. So being a veteran probably has more status in the city than in other cities in Urban Shadows, because you can produce weapons and create them and modify them so they're able to. There's a specific faction of hunters which are related to the government, like the state. They're state funded. There are others which are basically related to a TV show that was about hunting sex, like and black circles of magic and stuff like that. And there's other ones which like the classic, people who live in like poor places and like get away with it because those places are dangerous anyway. Um, and the Pumas, yeah, the Pumas either most of them are from indigenous descent, so they come from the Mapuche people. That's a huge tradition there. But also we have modern ones, and we also have like two strains, which is like one is you only should be a were puma if you got the gift when you're like you were born like that, or others are like more like let's bite people and turn them into just like because we need more people to fight against capitalism and just exploitation and destruction of nature and all that.
Jeff, which are
um
you? Were you born into it, or were you changed?
I uh, I kind of want to be born into it. I kind of want to be like really proud of my
sure.
heritage. I
I
like the idea of
love
being a native.
that. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Okay, so with that in mind, that means that we have um either two knights and one mortalis, or knight power and mortalis, and we would only be missing wild. um Anything you would be interested to going against, like particularly like any we discussed this idea of like before the stream, of like having either homophobic or racist villains, and that's a super easy option to set up here because, as I said, most people are xenophobes without knowing they are. So racism can be easy to do. The church here, whatever is left of it, is very much stuck in their ways. That even the last two, I've lived through like four popes somehow. I'm not that old, but somehow I've lived like through four popes, and all of them are as bad as you can think about. Like gay rights, and they we have now technically we have legal marriage here for gay people. But still, it was a crazy fight. Like still, it was a huge problem and issue, and they were right up until the last second they were protesting against it, and it's very new. I think the actual legal marriage is like a couple of years old only. Before that, we had like civil unions and all of that. So yeah, so the church still tries to influence the lives of other people here, but I think that's the way they are everywhere. So yeah, what type of villain? What villain do you want to go against? Who do you want to go against? Who would be like, yeah, let's go against these? Could be these people. Could be this person. What would you like to do?
I wouldn't mind getting my full Crocodile Dundee on somebody who's adjacent to our current president. Would really enjoy kicking someone like that's ass. I can't imagine why.
I'm on board with that as well too.
Oh yeah.
I
It is so convenient, that our Republican Party literally was founded here like 4 years ago, which is
mhm.
aping and trying to imitate all of the stupid shit that the other Republican Party is doing up in the States. So yeah,
Yes.
and
Thanks
there's
a
an
lot.
election coming. We have our presidential election this year, the end of the year, and there's a candidate for that party. So we could play like the shadow fight, shadow war to try to get, because literally the most right-wing candidate is going against a communist candidate, a woman who is also a communist. So could be interesting to be like in the shadows of that, trying to influence that, because of course like they have their
I
own
think that would be
influence
really
that.
cool. And then if you wanted to
Sure.
like mix in the Urban Shadows flavor of that
Yeah,
is whatever like faction he supports, maybe they're like extremely xenophobic to like all other
yeah,
factions. And like there's obviously tension and like, terse camaraderie between groups and circles, but he's trying to like get rid of all of that structure and be like, bam, only, humans are only awakened or only
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
his thing is, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And maybe that's sort of like that could be a way that like gives us a common enemy that like we're being, messed with in our own
Sure.
way that makes us want to like
Yeah,
work as a group.
yeah.
I love
Maybe
that.
there are like individuals who are like, either prominent members of certain factions or like independent operators who are well respected, who are just
Sure.
like part of, the community being something that is vibrant, where people have agency and are able to meaningfully engage and affect the
Hmm.
nature of what's the word I'm looking for, the standard of living, and like they're being either like kidnapped or like like falsely imprisoned, or maybe there's some sort of like relic or resource magically that's considered to be like a communal thing, like some well or something that he's like walled off or is hoarding for himself to
Oh,
like.
I love that one so much.
Sure.
Morgana, I love that one so much. Like
Just
a communal well,
taking resources
like
from the people
a
and keeping them for this. I don't
communal
know where I'm
well that
getting these
they
ideas.
build a fucking wall around is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like the magic wishing well that they're like only for me and never for thee. Like
Exactly.
I
Okay
love
then.
that. I'm actually putting
Yeah.
that in a kook mental note for later, locking that away
Yeah.
and using that in another game I play down the road.
That's definitely the way to do it, I think. I agree with that. It's
We'll
always
just steal from
useful.
each other. We make each other better.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah. Okay then. I think that's why I was like, what is this? Um awesome. Awesome. Okay then. I think I have a bunch of ideas already of things that we could do. So as we set up your characters, keep those in mind, keep what we've talked about in mind. Anything, Jeffrey, you would like to add or to comment on what we're doing so far?
I mean, I like where we're going with this, with
Sure.
the political intrigue. I think it definitely brings us all under one banner. I don't know. I don't know. I like my villains to be a little like more messy, and I mean, this feels very black and white,
No,
So
no, it
if
won't
there
be.
were so like more opportunities for that would be
Sure,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's my only thought.
I don't run black and white villains. Even my most despised villain, which is the Spanish conquistador I told you about, I have a whole backstory for it, and I always roleplay her like she's very complex. So no,
Okay.
no, it's going to be hard. Of course, it may seem easy. Let's go against the fascists and get rid of them, but that's the problem. It's not easy to get rid of them. You never know. You see all these people hedging their bets, and I think that's what we're gonna play a bit. If you want to like the lead up to it, kind of like how do people react when they see this fascism coming? Do they try to mount a resistance? Do they join? do they hedge their bets and say, no, I'm a neutral in this? Just, all of those are really interesting, and of course, it's gonna be from the shadows of the city. So we're gonna see a lot of like old things coming back to haunt people and all that. So, but no, I'll keep that in mind. Of course, I'm gonna add it to my notes, like that, the gray of it all. And if you want to, you can with your characters, you can join a bit of that. Kind of like
Yeah.
be like maybe the villain was slash is your best friend, the main villain for this, or was somebody you loved, and now it's like you're doing this, I cannot follow you there, type thing. I love that drama. Too. Okay.
So Jeffrey, your former partner, is a vampire from the ages that is turned against. Love the story we're writing.
Sure. Sure. It could happen. I don't know. I'm always open to all of those because I feel that those are really, really interesting. When you think about it. Okay then. Okay, considering that this is we're shaping up to be a game about power and the politics of power, I recommend that we go for the downtown hub as your starting point, because downtown allows you two moves. One of them is up for grabs, which allows you to go ahead and grab stuff. So if you want to steal things, get into places, very useful. And the other one is bar buddies, which allows you to talk to people. So you want to have, probably you would like to network a lot in this game. So, and actually, I'm gonna because in your current spreadsheet, you have in the character keeper, you have the regular version, like the default version of that circle. But I'm gonna share now my version of that hub, the one that I wrote for Santiago, which has other characters. Let me grab that one. And I'm going to actually hide the rest of them so you don't get confused about these. Where is it? Didn't copy? It's weird. Of course you know. Okay, with that being said, I think all of this, I think we're ready to go to character creation. Unless you have any more questions or doubts or anything you would like to talk before we move on to create the characters. How do you feel?
I think I'm ready.
Sure. And this character keeper also has all the moves, so you don't need to have the moves open in a new on a PDF or something. The moves are at the end of it, which is okay. I'm gonna put there that. Okay, so as I said before, I'm gonna guide you through character creation. In case you know what you're doing, skip ahead. You can do it at your own leisure. But I'm gonna guide the rest of you through what we have here. So the first one is your archetype, which I think we already are settled. Jeffrey, you're gonna play the wolf slash the puma. Morgana, you're gonna play the veteran in the end. Are you settled? Cool. And Travis, what are you going to play? The vamp or the wizard?
I think I'm gonna go for the vampire.
Sure. Okay then. So go to your specific, the sheet that has the name of your playbook on it, and then I'm gonna, guide you through all of that. So the first thing is the names and pronouns. As I said, if you want to have a local name or local-ish, a name that would sound wouldn't sound weird, to like somebody from here from the city. I'm gonna share with you now. Oh, it's not here. Where is it? I'm gonna look for it and I'm gonna paste it in the where's that? Okay, I'm gonna put it in the Discord just in case. And that one has bank names. As I said, you can also have a English name and be a newcomer or somebody who came a long time ago to the city. The only consideration is that, as I said, the dictatorship ended in 1990. So if you were here before that, probably you had a good reason or either like a deal with the military, coup, or had some contacts or something. After that, it's much easier to get here. But before that, it was hard, and so that's for that. Okay, then. So a couple of things you need to choose are, you also have your looks, which is on the right side of the character sheet, has a bunch of options. So here we have people of all colors and these days, and all sizes. So you can play whichever one you feel like the best. You can either put a picture there if you find like an actor or I don't know, something on the internet that you feel comfortable being the representation of your character. And also you have a demeanor. That's a drop down menu. It has 4 options. You choose one of those, or you can write your own. Basically, that's how most people know you. Like when people ask about you or like knowing anything about you, they know that you behave that way, which is your demeanor. And that's for the starting part of the character sheet. As I said, you can edit everything here, so feel free to start writing, making alterations or anything on the sheet. The idea is that it serves you, that you feel comfortable with it. Any questions so far? Nope. Cool.
No,
The
makes
next
sense to
step,
me.
yeah, is the stats. So we have 4 stats in this game, which are blood, heart, mind, and spirit. Blood is for anything that has to do with your body, especially fighting, like doing things like that. Turn to violence is with blood. Heart is for all the relationships. So if you want to converse with someone, convince them, persuade them, that's with heart. Trick them as well. Mind is anything that has to do with perception, just and knowing things. So that would be for that. And spirit is anything that's supernatural in nature. So doing magic or using powers is mostly with spirit. You already have an array of your stats, and you get to add one to one of those. You can improve basically one of those by one. This is PBTA, so as most PBTAs with dice, we're only going to roll 2d6s and add one of those stats usually, or one of the circles. On a 6 or minus, that's a miss, which is usually going to be you either don't get what you want or you get what you want but with a huge cost. So I always use the example of like you're trying to pick a lock and you roll a 6 or minus, you pick the lock, but on the other side there are 10 guards waiting for you. So you see, you got what you wanted, but now it's worse. Way worse. 7 to 9 is a mixed success. So basically you get what you want, but there's a bit of a cost, or you don't get exactly what you wanted. And then on a 10 plus, you get anything you wanted, everything you wanted, usually with a cherry on top, something extra that, like a benefit to that. So that's for the rolling. So the stats, those are the 4. You choose which one you want to improve. And then we have the circle ratings. So as I said, the circles have both you have a status on the circles and you have a rating on the circle. The rating is basically how well you know that circle and how much people know you in that circle. If it's positive, it means you're well known or you know a lot about the circle. You've had deals with them in the past or something similar. If you have a negative, you either don't know about them or they hate you. You have like a bad reputation with people of that circle. You also already have an array to your circles, and you get to improve one of those by one as well. So you choose which one of the circles you want to be better at. Any questions so far?
No, so far so good.
Nope. Cool. The sheets are color coded, so in case you all forget whose circle you are, if you're black, that means you're knight. If you're red, you are mortales. If you are pink, you're wild, and if you're blue, you're power. Like the name of the sheet, has a color on it, so you can know that. Um, okay then. And then the next step are your intro questions. So every character has a number of questions about them, which are on the right side of the character sheet under the demeanor. So basically, these are open-ended questions, but they are very specific about certain things about yourself. Um, so feel free to answer them. Feel free to create NPCs if you need them, if you want to. Some of them include that. And yeah, this is like the most creative part I feel about the character, which is like kind of like establishing who you are, uh, how long have they been here, what they want, and all of those things. So
What of the of like the local folklore spirits and creatures you mentioned, what is one that might be more prone than the others to like go on some sort of rampage?
it's a good question. Literally during the pandemic, we had sightings of pumas in the city while we were on lockdown. They were like, "Oh, they fucking left. We're gonna take back the city," and there were pumas on the streets. So that could be one thing. I would say, probably, but probably I would say like vampires. Like a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a reasonable amount of people die here, under mysterious circumstances. So probably you could charge that either to somebody at night, or maybe some kind of, there have been a couple of ritual sacrifices as well throughout the years that I've been alive, and living here. So that could also be something, like, people using that as sacrifices for satanic rituals, or like power related. So along those lines, I think any of those could fit. So basically, pumas, vampires, and ghosts could also be an option, literally, because like there was a huge there are a lot of ghost stories about here, about places that are haunted, or that people have seen ghosts. There are a couple of famous ghosts, around here. So yeah. Oh, that's one thing I didn't mention. I don't know if you've ever heard about animitas. I'm gonna write down in the chat. That's a very particular thing that happens mostly only here, which is when somebody dies, especially in a tragic accident or something, sometimes people build this like little shrines on the road, which are dedicated to this person. So the way I reinterpreted that is that those people become really powerful ghosts, because basically they have some type of devotion to them. And there are a couple which are like super famous that have been, for example, there's one in downtown that has been there for like 80 years or something. They even did like a whole, I don't know, like rebuilding, or some of that, and they preserved that wall because it has this animita. So that could be something else as well. Like kind of like that's a very like a weird mix of Catholicism with a bit of like paganism, like of thinking that these people become like little saints or something, although they're not acknowledged by the church or anything like that. They just they happen to exist in that way. Um, I don't know if that answers your question. Sorry, I rambled a bit. um,
You gave me exactly what I needed. I appreciate it.
awesome. That's one. That's important. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions, doubts so far? Well, this part is going to take you a bit probably because it has a lot of writing that you need to do. So
Do we want to go through our intro questions or like a few things
you,
together still?
yeah, if you want, like there are a couple of other things that I need to go through with
Oh,
you, so
sure.
I'm gonna jump ahead, and then you can come back and finish this, or just keep them in mind is also a good idea. So you can write them down now or later. Like I'm gonna read your characters before our first session and maybe ask you some questions over Discord.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that I always say, because we're gonna have an introductory section of your characters, is especially in something like this, it's better if you are like, my character has this secret, but your characters don't know about it, but I want you as players to know it so we can play that with the dramatic irony. So because, for example, if you have a huge, very juicy secret and you don't tell us about it, we're not gonna prod you on it, and we're gonna finish session 4. You're gonna be like, nobody asked me about my mom or something. So I feel that the best way to work with this is always to be very open on the like meta level, like with the rest of the players, and then also be very good at role playing and be like, oh, my character doesn't know that, but I can play with the irony. I can, like be like, oh no, like I would never ask you about your mother. That would be so inappropriate, or something, So, that's the thing. That's one thing that I would keep in mind if you can, because it's useful. Um. Okay, the gear, which is under the intro questions. Some of you have already gear that you don't need to do anything about it. Like basically that's your gear and that's it. Some of you have boxes that you need to tick, so you need to choose one of those weapons. And yeah, that's for that. I think most of you get options here, like choices. As I said, most of these weapons are highly illegal here, but you can keep them and use them. But if they find you with it, you could get into trouble. Okay, and then we have the playbook moves, which is all of you have a specific amount of playbook moves that you get to start with. So, for example, the vamp, you start with Eternal Hunger plus other 2 out of the selection that you have there. So you always have Eternal Hunger plus other 2 that you choose. The veteran, you start with Old Friends, Old Favors, and then you get other 2 out of the 5 or 6 that are left. And the wolf, you get comes with the territory plus one of the other ones. So your playbook moves, most of them either improve things about your character or something like that, so you can read them. They often modify some of the basic moves in the game, so you can read about those. As I said, on the there's a tab called basic moves and another one for the circle moves, and another one for the
Do you
should
want
be
us
one
to go
for
over the ones we've chosen, or save that for?
No, sure. Yeah, if you want to share what you're looking for or what you would be interested in having, it's cool. Like maybe you can.
Yeah,
I don't know.
sure. I'll go first. I think I was able to fix it. Yeah, so good. I was able to pop
Sure.
it up, and I can switch between our screens when we go through it. So I've decided I'm Rafael Capitan. Um,
Oh, I love that name. That's a
uh,
very good name.
and I've decided I'm playing the antiquated style old conquistador vampire. So I have
Love it.
decided to choose Always Welcome. So this one says when you attempt to worm your way into a restricted location by manipulating an underling or guard, I can roll with their status on my circle. And on a hit, they open it for me despite misgivings. On a 10 plus, they also keep my name out the mouth. And if it's a miss, they stand strong, but inadvertently give me an opening if we seek it through violence. So he's
That's
gonna
good.
be, I think he's gonna be a crotchety old conquistador, is what I'm feeling. And my other move is keep your friends close, which is when you go to figure someone out by helping them truly indulge in true hunger. I get them to take a 10 plus instead of rolling, and if they're in my circle, I get to take a +1 ongoing onto acting on the answers of that question until some time passes. So
That's
I think I'm
awesome.
going to be like a indulgent old head, indulgent old vampire. Um,
Love it.
and for my harbor, just to jump into some of my other things, was I'm debating either a restaurant or maybe a library as one of the places where I sort of have a sanctuary. So he's gonna
Sure.
be this like
Yeah.
sort of reformed, sort of old school crotchety
Love it.
vampire who I sort of feel
Yeah.
coming into vision. So that's Rafael Capitan.
I think if you choose the library, there's a super cool library in downtown that you could
Oh,
like basically
really? There
grab
we
and use.
go. I
Yes.
love it. I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Which is I'm gonna show you. Let me grab a picture of it. Which is technically a public library, but always has lights on. at the most like weird hours. So that's why I always imagine that there's some fishy weird thing going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm technically employed there. Sometimes I work. Sometimes I'm a night shift
no.
person. Sometimes I'm a, you know, sometimes
No,
I'm patron.
and being a
Sometimes,
vampire is like super useful, like you
yeah,
can be there and like, you don't care about it.
all of the
So,
knowledge in the world in one spot.
yep.
It's a concept I just still haven't gotten over from back in the day when it was so hard to get a
Yeah.
book. And
And
here
this
they just
place
collect
is,
them.
yeah, exactly. This place is called the Archivo Nacional, so basically the National Archive. Um, and it technically does public service things, but most people these days don't go there. Like they visit the website and that's about it.
Mm.
So, and there's a
Pity.
picture there.
They're missing out.
Yeah.
Hybrid libraries are really awesome.
No, and it's beautiful. Like I've gone inside of it. It's like super beautiful. Like like there's
In
parquet floors, wooden floors,
Ooh.
like super quiet with these old lamps that you can sit down and read stuff there. Has a beautiful cafe inside that you can drink some good
Oh,
like
that sounds
tea.
lovely. Well,
Yeah, it's very
you've
lovely.
you've sold me. I'm gonna look at pictures now. Jeff or Morgana,
Sure.
who wants to go next?
Yeah,
I can go next. I'll be brave.
sure.
All right.
I'm mostly filled out stuff here. So I was kind of thinking that my territory is like in a garbage dump. So
Okay.
if I'm like in indigenous descent, I was thinking
Yeah.
maybe some like Inca background, and like we had like a historical connection to the spot, and we like proved it like legally. And they're like, okay,
Mm.
yeah, sure, like you can live here, or like you can like manage this area. But then they like somehow double crossed us, and then it's like it's a dump now. So like we don't get to like keep it
Oh.
being like a place to live, but like we're stubborn and we live there anyway.
Yeah.
Would that work in the city? Like to have a dump
Absolutely.
in the city? Okay.
Yeah, there are a bunch of them. I'm gonna look for where they are located, but there's like it's awful. This place is like filled with trash. So let me
She's like, I
look up
got you,
the
fam.
dump. Yeah, no problem. I hate it, but I hate that I know that it's so common. Um. Okay. Yeah, there's a bunch. I think because of if you want to tie yourself to the Inca culture, the best way would be in the north side of the city, like north of the river. So in that place, there's one actually that they call them transfer stations because of course they have those fucking euphemistic names, but it's basically a dump. Which is in. I'm gonna show you on the map. Let me see if I can put it. Let's see if I can go like 90%. Yeah. So, I'm gonna write something. It should be here. Yeah. So on the northwest side of the city, uh, where there's the 70 number, can you see that 70?
Yes. Yep.
Goes around. Yeah, there's a place called Quilicura, and that place is actually that's an indigenous name which has been basically Spanishized. And in that place there's a huge one of these transfer stations which are basically dumps. Um,
Let's go there. Absolutely.
yeah, and that's an area of the city in which the city, as you get away from the center, it starts becoming like more and more wild. And in this side, on the north side, you start going into like you're literally going north, and it's getting like more desertic and abandoned. Just like it's just a drier climate. It has like awful weather conditions. Like the pollution is super bad in those areas specifically because of where they are located. Um, and the only good places around that area are gentrified, so people cannot even like afford them because like they're the only good places are super expensive. So it would make a lot of sense that your people would be angry about it, and you would be
Yeah.
like, "Fuck you! We're gonna do something about this." And of course, they always choose like the most rotten politicians because the city is divided into communes, and each commune has a mayor, and those mayors are like they have a lot of impact on their specific communes, but also each commune gets a certain amount of money from taxes. So the wealthiest communes have a lot of money and can do a lot of things, and the poorest ones have to make ends meet. And
Okay.
that one is one of the ones that has to make ends meet. It's kind of like a poor part of town.
Okay, yeah, no,
So,
that's really perfect for what I was going
cool.
for.
Awesome.
Okay, so when did you first experience the change? I was thinking like on our quinceañera, like is when like we have it, like
Love
maybe
it. Sure.
I don't know if it's like a moonlight situation that causes the
Mm.
turn, but if it
Sure.
is, then like maybe we keep our like young like veiled or something during the moonlight until they're old enough.
Love it. Sure. Well,
Mm.
the Inca are more connected to the sun, like
Okay.
than to the moon. But if you want to go, there's another group of indigenous people that are more
Oh.
moon connected. But if it would be the sun, it could be something like, because of the quinceañera, you're like 15 years old in sun years. That's why maybe that locks at that moment. Because technically our years are sun based. They're not moon based.
Well,
So
if
it
it's
would
more
make sense.
sun,
Yeah.
maybe pivot instead of quinceañera, we do like on a solar eclipse or something. Like that's
Sure.
when like the first change
We've had a
happens.
bunch of those. Yeah. No, it's okay. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And the question, how long have I been here? Just the
You're muted, Jeffrey, right now for me, I think.
sorry,
Yeah,
better.
don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. If I click out, it doesn't let me unmute as easily, so I have to click back into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in the city forever. How long have I been here? Only life I've ever known.
How old is your character? It sounds young.
Yeah, youngish. I kind of want to go like they're very proud of like being born into the family that they are, but they're
Sure.
also like, like we're living in a dump. Maybe we can like, like think about branching out, or like
Yeah.
they kind of have some new ideas, more modern ideas, and they kind of like have to conflict that with their family. It's kind of
Sure.
the story I'm going for.
Yeah.
Um,
So
what's
if
the
you're around 20, for example,
yeah
20-ish, you could be second generation immigrants from Peru. And Peru has a huge like Inca influence, and even people look like a lot like like the Inca papers and all that. So you would be from Santiago, but your family wasn't, basically, like originally they weren't from here, but the connection exists anyway. If you want to go for that aspect as an option. If not, you could be people who have been here for forever, but they are darker skinned. So it's like that's not a crime, but some people would like for it to be. In case you want to go with that.
okay. I feel like I'll go with like we've been here forever.
Sure.
So like we have
Awesome.
some kind of like claim to the land, like
So
culturally.
really, so probably probably you're one of your families like hundreds of years old,
Right.
like that type of like from before the conquistadors came here. So that's which is
Yeah.
awesome. I love that. Yeah.
My family conquered some of your family members when, hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, we're gonna explore that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we're gonna see. It's gonna be, and it's also like the Puma and the Vamp, so it's kind of like a classic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
classic revisited. Love it.
What's the best part of my other form? I don't know if there's. I was trying to find it online. I don't know if there's like rare colored pumas or like something with their eyes, like something different about them. I don't know. Maybe.
It could also just be like how free you feel in it. Like what do you
Yeah.
what do you love most about your form?
Yeah.
Also, imagine
one.
being a girl and then turning into a puma. It's like, please, accost me on the streets. Please tell me something so I can turn into a puma and rip your neck out of your body.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of like very empowering. Instead of like being afraid all the time. So I feel
like
that
that.
could be cool.
Yeah, that's too.
Yeah, let's go with that. Who is the most important person in your territory? I'm gonna do like a matriarch kind of situation. So
Sure.
I'll make it my grandmother.
Love
she's
it.
like the spiritual leader of our pack, the Sapa Inca.
Love it.
What do you need desperately to move my pack out of our current territory? Either move us out or to like find some way to change it from being a dump. but that's been a
Yeah.
long legal battle that we have no chance of winning.
That would be interesting because that would be very progressive of you to be like, let's leave. Whereas your family will be
Right.
like, no, fuck this. We're gonna kick them out eventually. Just
Right.
like we're gonna outlast them type deal.
Yeah, and my
Uh,
character just wants some like a better like life altogether.
Yeah.
Like the
course
ideal
you do.
situation is to get them, their
Yeah.
land back, but yeah, I feel like that's
But
kind of
also
more
like be
tragic.
realistic type deal, we could have a better life. Awesome. Love it. Thank you, Jeffrey. Sounds like a
Thank
great
you.
character. Yours too, by the way. I think I already said this, Travis, but I your character is already super complicated. Like having a vampire conquistador, like being part of this crew, would be like, yeah, like I don't want the fascists to get in power. I know that they took a lot of shit, like they like me, people like me, and all that, but I don't want them. Like
Yeah,
sounds really cool.
I know.
Morgana, how about you?
Before I start, I do want to mention backing out and restarting it did not help. I can hear you and Travis fine. Cannot hear anything Jeffrey is saying. His audio track is just
Oh
not coming through on my
Oh,
no.
machine.
really?
Which
Not
I know for right now
cut
won't be
out
an
for you
issue, but
guys
when we
too.
get to like doing like deaths and interpersonal connections later, that might be I have adjusted the permissions on my computer. I don't know what else I can adjust on my end because it's just that one audio track. It's not like it's like garbled. It's just not coming through at all. Like it's muted almost.
So weird. Yeah.
But my character is Bedelia Creedmont, who was an expatriate Southerner, came down here and found herself hunting monsters of all things, and got out of the business after a great final adventure, but nonetheless one that cost the lives of her two compatriots. And after that, she just couldn't bear the thought of leaving her beloved wife all alone in the world, and has very very quietly been just enjoying a retirement for a number of years. But with the recent kerfuffle, it has become apparent that she is going to have to dust off the old boots and the old equipment and get back to it.
That's super solid. Yeah. Um. Well, you would be what we call here a gringa. Just, like you're not from here, but people, of course, probably depends up to you. Maybe if you've been here for a long time, you don't have an accent anymore, have a very like slight accent. Um, and also it weirdly here's a benefit because I imagine that your character is like, I don't know, blonde and white skin, so that's all the benefits here. Like people are gonna treat you super well because you look like fair skinned, quote
Fair,
unquote.
fair,
Yeah,
I'd say fair skin most likely, but probably more of an auburn and amber than blonde and
sure.
blue.
Still, like most people here have black hair, so like any hair that's lighter than that, which is all of them, it seems interesting. Cool, cool. Okay. Let me check. What should we do next? Okay, the features. So each playbook has a specific feature. So, for example, in the case of the vamp, you have people trapped in your web whenever they ask you a favor or something, and then you can manipulate people in your web, and also you get your harbor, which we're discussing. Things that has benefits and dangers as well. The veteran, you have your workshop, which you can create anything you can think of, but it usually takes time or resources or whatever. And you need to choose 3 resources of your workshop out of that list that you want to have. You bold them, and that's the ones that you're gonna have from the get go. And the wolf or the puma, you have your territory, which is this place that we have already talked a bit about. So maybe you can just like adjust with that your benefits and just like problems. And then we have the transformation, which is just like you get some qualities and some weaknesses as well. So, and we can modify some of those if they don't make much sense. for you. So yeah, this is the part in which you say why you are specific. I am the specific vamp, the specific puma in this case, or the specific veteran. How am I that archetype?
Do we want to go through all of that right now, or do we want to sort of work through this?
I think I'm gonna leave you some time,
Leave
to
us some
like
time
go
to
through
work
it.
through all of
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
exactly. Like kind of like get an idea, read it, because sometimes that's one of those things. Like it takes time to figure out things. I
Yeah.
just You don't need to complete the character right now. I just want you to get an idea of who you are. I
To
think already
consider
a
all
few
the
of you,
options and make sure that
yeah,
you fully flesh out our people.
yeah. Because the most important part for me of this setup is getting to the debts and the relationships between all of you,
Yes.
and then that's the thing that because our starting point. Probably the first session, I'm gonna be like putting you in situations so we get the ball rolling, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, I always like to like take my hands off the wheel in a way, like let you drive, with your own desires and ideas and there's and your own relationships as well. Sometimes this is also a very good game for having scenes. There's an intimacy move, which by the way, it doesn't have to be sexual in nature, can be confessing something, can be you know the classic moment in urban fantasy when somebody's hurt and somebody else is like dealing with their wounds and they're like half naked, just and they have a conversation and they talk about their feelings because they're also naked in their emotions. That can also happen here. So this is a very good game for that too. So if you want to have that moment of talking to other or connecting with the other player characters, that's also very good. Where you're gonna get options to do that. And so the next step would be the introduction of your characters, which you already did. So yeah, so now we're gonna do the debts, the starting debts. As I said, the most important part of this, which is you have on your character sheet three samples of debts, which is like a whole section of the character sheet dedicated to debts, which is usually under your feature or your moves. So you have debts that you are owed. So basically, you can collect them. Like in this case, you owe somebody something, and you have debts to collect. So basically, other people owe you. You usually have at least one on each, and another one which is an extra in either side. And you're gonna choose one of these, and you're gonna make it real with somebody else in the group. That's the idea. So read them, get an idea. There's only three, so get an idea of which one would you like to make real, and the other ones we're gonna delete because we're not gonna use them. We're gonna keep them for now because we have a missing player, so we're gonna use that for our missing player. But yeah, that's gonna be the for that. Hmm.
If I might
Oh,
add,
that's an
just
interesting question. You're bringing up Travis. Sorry, I had to look at the chat.
oh yeah, no
Um,
no worries. I was just
hmm,
saying yeah because we are missing one of our players for the setup, and you mentioned how important this part
uh,
was. We did go through all of the majority of our characters and have a good understanding of
yeah,
who we are or sort of like the vibes we have. Maybe I might suggest, since we are approaching time, saving these and doing this either in Discord or potentially having another mini session 0.5.
yeah. No, I think it's okay. Yeah,
If
definitely we can
everyone's
complete this. Yeah.
interested, because I
Um,
think it also gives us a little bit more time, like you said, to sort of really consider some of the options that we now know
yeah.
that we have. So what are the rest of the group thinking?
That makes sense to me.
Our Puma's muted.
So
Pew
it's
Poo
not just me.
Uh,
muted.
It's not just
Poo
me.
Poo muted.
okay.
You're still Poo
No, you're
muted.
muted. You're still muted. No, what's happening?
It's spreading.
No, no,
What?
Okay,
Still?
no,
now I
no,
can
it
hear
is.
you.
No, no, no,
Oh, it was the full sun wasn't out. That's why.
no.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
no, it was not a full sun.
the 0.5, I think. Good idea.
Yeah. Well, I think since we're pretty close to starting the campaign on Tuesday, let's just use the first hour or so. I don't think we're gonna
Okay.
take an hour, but we can just meet. I'm gonna try hopefully to get Rilo up to speed, get them to create the characters from the remaining playbooks, and then get them up to this point. So basically on Tuesday we meet, we start, we do a bit of reintroduction, uh and then we do the relationships, and once we do that we jump straight into the action because I'm gonna do the prep with what you already have here. The keeper is going to remain available at that same address that I already posted. So if you want to go over this over the next few days, if you have any question, comments, anything you'd like to talk to me about, shoot me a message on Discord. I'm always there. I have very weird hours. So if it's super late at night, I'm most probably going to be there. If it's early in the morning, maybe too, but much later.
But
I get
catch me
out much
later
later.
after you wake up.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm gonna always be answering if you have any comments or anything about this. If you have the book and you want to give a read to the Santiago section, do. It contains quote unquote spoilers, but I don't mind. You can read them and get an idea. I talk a lot about it, especially in the first few pages, a lot about the story of the city from the supernatural perspective. I try to join, yeah, how gorgeous is that? From the both like the supernatural and the mortal, mundane. So it's a lot of like mix between actual events with imagined events and how those two could combine. So yeah, that's all. Thank you so much. This was awesome. I had a lot of fun. I love your characters already, which is the most important part for me. So I can get excited to come up with awful things for you to deal with. Thank you everyone. And I don't know if you have any further questions or anything else or not. I'm gonna pass it to Travis to close this.
Yeah, awesome, everyone. Thanks so much for coming together today. This was really exciting. I can't wait to play. I think, like Helena said, we'll be chatting over our Discord to finish it up. And to you streamers here, thanks for taking part with us on our session 0 and learning how to build an Urban Shadows game and play. And,
Yeah,
it's a lot of sort of talking it out and getting into a groove and a vibe and then jumping in. So I
exactly.
can't wait for you all to see it. And just for everyone's notice, a taleofd20s.com/events to see our full calendar of everything that's happening. And this starts next Tuesday, as Helena said. So please, hope you see us there. And it wouldn't be a Tale of D20 stream if I didn't close it with our traditional saying. So from the first chapter to the last page, be kind, everyone, spread love, and see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.